Three floors of the new museum in downtown Manhattan are dedicated to the exhibition of the paintings, sculptures, and textile works created over 60 years by feminist artist Judy Chicago.
She's really one of the most famous artists, even in the world or in America, that she's really reached a pinnacle of fame in the 1970s that very few artists achieve, that really goes outside of the art world and really even into pop culture.
Despite all the work she produced, the fame she achieved, and the influence she had in the feminist art space, this is her first retrospective in 60 years in New York City, the art capital of the world.
Judy's most famous project is called The Dinner Party. It was made between 1974 and 1979. It's permanently installed at the Brooklyn Museum in this very epic, sort of austere, triangular-shaped room. It's a triangular-shaped table with 39 place settings for 39 women throughout history, and there are 999 other names of women throughout history written on the floor.
Although the vision behind the dinner party was to honor and pay tribute to women in history, both fictional and real, it seemed that there was little space on that table for women of color among the other luminaries. Evan Neely lectures on art history at the Pratt Institute. He talks about how the dinner party came as the third wave of feminism seeped into discourse. While the third wave of feminism concerned itself with issues of race and class, Chicago's work did not.
The terms of what the movement was all about were set by white women. And if you look at some of Chicago's work, you'll find that she just sort of ignores any kind of potential issues arising from race or difference in historical experience by assimilating all women to a single dynamic.
Where does that leave room for women of color in the modern art canon?
We live in fucking New York City. It's the most diverse place in the world. And the fact that we still have all white museum directors is an abomination. And, why do we still have to suffer these white gatekeepers?
This is Jayashree Abichandani, a South Asian artist and founder of the South Asian Women's Creative Collective. Abichandani is openly critical of how the Western art canon marginalizes women artists of color. Her disenchantment with the art world came when her role as the curator of the Queen's Museum came to an abrupt end in 2006, after Sally Talent, an Englishwoman, became the new director of the Queen's Museum.
She basically told me that I had no audience, that I was irrelevant, and she was not interested in the show of caste-oppressed Dalit artists that I was bringing to her, because she was not willing to piss off the Indian Hindu community in any way, and sent me packing.
The character of an art canon, according to Neely, is truly defined by whoever funds the big museums and art institutions.
Whether we could bring about a situation in which the canon could be revised, it really depends on what the patrons want at the end of the day.
Ruby Chishti, Brooklyn-based Pakistani artist, talks about how artists of color oftentimes have to create art that panders to the Western gaze in order to make a living.
As an artist of color, there are certain expectations that there would be a certain kind of art, a certain exotic kind of art forms they should be creating.
There's also the question of, sales. Right? Were women selling as much as men? And the short answer is no, they were not. And that's still an issue today.
Abichandani alludes to how her removal from the Queen's Museum not just affected her sales, but dictated whether she got any shows at all that showcased her work.
I'm sitting here having had blockbuster solo shows and blockbuster curatorial projects that have brought the city to a standstill. I don't have any shows ahead of me.
I don't know even what to do, because this is the state of the art world, and I'm getting nowhere.
As the art scene is increasingly monopolized by the white and wealthy, it is not surprising that they are also only interested in showcasing the art that best represents the interests of their community. Where does that leave room in the art canon for feminist artists of color?